Hey everybody, DM Jim here, and welcome to another episode of Game Terrain Engineering. Well, this episode, let's talk about it. I think some of y'all are communicating with one another because over the last few weeks, I've received about 6 emails from different people asking if I would give them a tour of my workshop. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I know that there's some of the others. I think Wylock did this, and I think Jeremy at Black Magic Craft did too. I can't remember. I think they did. I know people are fascinated, I guess, with where people do their work. So yeah, I'm happy to give you a little tour of my workshop. I also, for those of you who don't know, I write for a living. So I have an office. This is the basement. I have an office upstairs where I have my computer and my 3D printer is there currently, not here in the basement. And so I do a lot of work up there. So I'm very lucky in the sense that I get to work from home. I have an office, but I also have like a second office. I actually consider this my more important office. I enjoy being down here more than I enjoy being in my home office. So yeah, I'm happy to show you around. I don't really think it's anything big. You know, I wish I had double the space. Some of you probably would like to slap me for saying that because you may have half of what I have. I don't know. The idea is you work with what you have. And my workshop wasn't always this filled, as you'll soon see. I've lived in this house now for 12 years. And, you know, it started out small and, you know, you collect things and you get shelving and stuff like that. So what you see here didn't happen overnight. It happened over a number of years. It's also happened over a number of hobbies. I used to, before I got into the crafting thing for gaming, and I've always been into gaming, but for a long time, I was into electronics. I loved making electronics gizmos and gadgets and learning and reading schematics and building projects and things like that. So a lot of what you're going to see in here, some of it's left over from when I was into that, especially my electronics station, which I'll show you. So anyway, enough talk. Let me get you a tour of my workshop. I'll start at the top and show you that it's truly a basement workshop, but it's nice down here. Right now it's really nice. It's probably in the low 70s or high 60s. It's very comfortable. In the winter, I mean, there are times I can see my breath. So not always a great time to work down here, but right now it is. So anyway, let me take you on a tour. So my workshop is actually in the basement, and it's not a dank basement by any means. It does get cold down here, and I'm going to take you on a little tour here. Obviously, foam, pink XPS foam. I have it in 1/2 inch lengths, or thicknesses, and 1/4 inch. And let me just give you a pan here, and I'll go through all this with you. It looks cluttered, and it is, but everything has its place. And so what we'll do is we'll start right here with the desktop. All right, what you're looking at right here is my work table. Right now, I've just purchased the Star Wars Legion core kit and some add-ons, and got to get glue in those and painting them. I think the first few games start next week. I'm really looking forward to this, but not so much to painting all of these figures. So, you know, this is just a typical workspace. You guys are funny that ask for this kind of stuff. I guess I'm also interested in how people work, but it's, you know, it's just a workspace. I've got my paint brushes, you know, let's see what else. You know, paper towels, my magnifiers, lots of eye protection. And yes, you can never have too much eye protection, but I have a rule in my house. When my kids come down to the workshop, and a lot of times they bring their friends, I make them put on eye shields. I've just got a lot of things going on down here, and I'll show you in a minute, that can cause, you know, trouble with your eyes. You don't want to get things in your vision. You know, goggles, some extra paints, glues, used paint. These are some of my, I've had people ask about these. Here are some clean ones. These are just ceramic little, I forget what they're called. My dad's a chemist, and they use these in chemistry labs, you know, to mix things or whatever. But they wash out real easy, and he gave me a bunch of them, and I've used them for paints and washes, as you can see here. And even though it's dry, if I soak these in soapy water, this stuff comes right out. And I always have a handful of clean ones on hand. Let's see, the Dremel, just a basic workstation. To my left, I have my paint collection. Underneath is glues and other odds and ends. I recently got rid of a lot of paints. As you can see, I've cleared some space out here that were either low or dried out. And, that's about it. Next to me, I always keep my, blades and pliers and other odds and ends in here that I need to get to. I try to keep them in here so I'll always know where they are. I hate looking for tools. So I've sort of developed a habit of when I'm done with a knife or something, it goes back in here so I can find it. Rulers, pins, and other odds and ends. My glue gun I keep handy right here. This thing, I got to tell you, I did a video on it not too far back, and I'll put a link up here. This is my SureBonder wireless. It charges, and it'll hold the heat for about 3 or 4 minutes. But I like not having the cable, and I just keep it right here next to me. It's got a little LED right there when it's on, so I know when it's off or on. And let's see what else. Lots of paintbrushes, as you can see. These are my favorites. I got to tell you, I'll put a link for these below. These are called I'm going to say it right. The Artisan Shop. Can you read that? I love these paintbrushes. They come in. I forget how many come in the pack, but they have this nice fat piece here which your fingers can hold. It also keeps them from rolling. They tend to stay flat. So I'll put a link to these, but I've just discovered these not too long ago, and I bought a bunch of them, and just absolutely love them. So that's it. That's it for my workstation. I'll pull back here and give you the full, the full view. It's on a standard, wooden bench. Nothing fancy, but this is where I film. You can see the 2 brackets right here where I put my camera when I'm filming. And so that's it. That's my workstation, and let's go check out another area. All right, now in a previous video, I believe I mentioned that I like electronics. I'm an electronics hobbyist, and a long time ago, I'll put a link in the description below. A long time ago, I bought a book called Make Electronics by Charles Platt. He's a friend of mine, and he's a writer. And the book is outstanding. It's got like 32 or 36 projects in it. And by the time you finish the book, you will be an electronics, not an expert, but you'll be very strong in the force. You know what I'm saying? And so I was always pretty decent with electronics, but I learned so much with that book. But going through that book, you have to buy you buy some components, resistors, capacitors. You buy a lot of stuff. You'll spend a lot of money if you really want to learn electronics. But I ended up making myself a dedicated electronics bay out of a Craftsman tool thing here. You can see I've got my soldering iron. This is a Hako or Hako. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but it's outstanding. I love my soldering iron that my wife got me for my birthday years ago. Helping hands, a couple of those, copper wire, solder, standard tools. Mask for when you're soldering. You do not want to be breathing in soldering fumes, and that's about it. I'm not real crazy about keeping tons of tools. I do have a fume fan somewhere. I don't know what I did with it, but the fume fan I pull out when I need it. Also have a hot air gun here mounted. So that is my electronics station. Okay. All right, this table needs some explaining. You'll see I've got GKR Heavy Hitters, Giant Killer Robots, some Mansions of Madness, and some other games down here. This is my solo play table. I play a lot of solo games. My kids don't like some of the games I play, and I find it hard sometimes to find players. So I have a table here dedicated in my basement where I come down at odd times and I'll play a game, a solo game. And right now I'm really big into Arkham Horror, the card game. And if you've never played this game, there's a lot of tokens and cards and stuff that are out on the table. And I invested in these laser cut trays that help me keep my game organized. This allows me to play 2 characters at once, and this holds all the other stuff for the game. My bag of tokens. You don't roll dice, you pick tokens out of a bag. But Arkham Horror, I'm a big fan, and I tend to play a couple games a month down here. And let's see, GKR, I've just got it set over here because it's such a big box, I don't know where to put it. I want to point out something to you. Some of you may recognize this. There's a goldfish in there. A good friend of mine, Edna, and her husband George, they are players at my D&D table on Wednesday nights, and they're going to be moving away soon, and I'm really going to miss them. And Edna made me this. I'm the DM for the group, and she made me this, which is supposed to be Xanathar's goldfish, you know, the beholder on the latest book. And it's got resin in there, and she handmade this for me, and it was, I had to put it on this table. It just a really nice little gift that she made for me. Up high up here, I keep some of my storage of terrain that I've made. You can see the Imperial Comm Center and the Goblin Tower and some other bits and pieces. All along this wall up here, I'm getting ready to put some shelving from left all the way to the right because I need it. I need shelving because right here, this is my single stack of shelving for mostly terrain stuff. And you can see it's starting to really pile up and get junky, and things are tipping over. And it goes all the way to the top where I've got my little, whatever that is, the cathedral, stone cathedral thing. But I need more space. So I'm going to be putting shelving up here, probably two levels, I'm not sure yet. The pegboard, I'm also going to put to use. I just haven't figured out what I'm going to do with it yet. I tend to keep it spare or clean because this is where I play, but it kind of does scream to be putting something there. So right now I've got a tripod and some mats, some gaming mats. Over here you can see my 4 shelves for my minis, and I need to put up a few more. One of my viewers suggested that I insert a shelf in between each one because there's wasted space, and there is. And I've got some extra rulers here that I'm going to mount and do that. It's time to build some more shelves. I also keep sprues for some of the games I play here that I haven't made yet. And there's my beholder that I just painted. I was really proud of that one. Turned out really well. And let's see, what else? Just some more random shelving down here. Hero Quest, great game for my youth. And just storage bins. You can buy these at hardware store. They stack. They're really nice and cool. Hey, Wylock. Remember that? Anyway, this is normally where I keep my 3D printer. During the winter, I move it up to my office. The main reason is it gets very cold down here in the winter, and you are not supposed to run a 3D printer in a very cold environment. I learned that the hard way because my 3D printer was down for a couple months. Those of you who have been watching a lot of my videos know that there was a period of time where I was complaining constantly I had no 3D printer. That's because I was running it in during a cold snap, and it got gummed up with plastic. And long story short, I took it off of here and I moved it upstairs, so it gave myself some extra space. In the summer, I'm going to move it back down here just to make it easy. But you can see I have been printing like crazy, ton of the Necroplex pieces. I'm not printing these for fun. I'm printing these for a mission. Here's some that I'm already assembling. The Necroplex pieces I did a video on, and I'll put a link up to that video here. And you know, you use foam core, okay, with these pieces to build bases. Here's a stand. None of this has been glued together yet, but as you can see, I've got a ton of this because I'm building a big thing, and that's going to come out soon in a project, hopefully soon. It's been a long time. Down there, I keep all my electronics, you know, junk that I've still got. I don't have a whole lot of it. Craft supplies. Those of you who don't know, I'm a writer. I write for a living. I've written over 30 books on different technology and science subjects. And during the summers, I typically take off and teach camps for kids, you know, making camps, show them how to make things. A lot of it's technology camps. This is all stuff related to my camps that I keep organized down here. You've already seen my shelving that is way too much. Yes, that is a laser cutter. Yes, I am very close to having that operational. Yes, that is going to open up a whole lot of new projects for me. Stay tuned on that. And the Star Wars book is just for ideas for Star Wars terrain. Here's my Proxon in a nice little safe place where I can reach it. More stacks of junk. I got this a long time ago on sale. It's a bin shelf. It was normally like $200 and I got it for $50. It was a great steal. These little pull-out bins. Slowly but surely, I'm replacing them with like electronic, or they used to hold all electronics and hardware stuff. I'm slowly replacing most of it with storage for my crafting, you know, needs for the channel. And junk upstairs. A lot of you have noticed my Dark Tower game. Love that game. It still works. My kids don't like it. I still like to play it because you can play it solo. Just some empty Star Wars boxes from things we've made over the years, and then more junk. This is the hardware, the house hardware stuff for repairs and stuff. There's a lot of junk mixed in there. Hey, paintball helmet. And then more of those storage, stackable storage things. My electronics box down here, cardboard boxes, chipboard, that kind of stuff. And empty plastic containers down here, as well as right there. You can never have too many plastic containers for storage. Oh, what's this on the floor? Well, this is a box I received not too long ago. There is a box of crafts going around. It started with, I believe, Scotty or John Suski. I can't remember who started it. Sorry, guys. Somebody started it, and they're sending it. You basically, you open the box, you use some of the craft supplies in it to do something. You put some stuff in it, and then you send it on to somebody else. This box arrived to me heavily damaged. You can see the sides torn. The bottom is collapsing from the weight. I'm going to try to reinforce it, but it's possible I may have to recreate this box. It's called the Craft It Forward box. There it is. And there's a lot of nice stuff in it. I've been putting things in it myself. I actually have something I'm making from this, and that'll be an upcoming video as well. But this is going to Wylock next. He has never had it, so I am going to send it on to him. And the basic idea is that if you get asked if you want it, you have to agree to pay the postage to send it to the next person. But it's totally worth it. It's a very fun project, and hopefully some of you may one day be the recipient of said box and see what's inside it. There's a lot of cool stuff inside it. Very, very, it's a deep box, and just amazing stuff inside. My stool, where all the magic happens. That's it, guys. Let's see what else. Underneath, extra waste foam, cardboard that I used to paint on. My wood box and my junk box right there, full of junk. There's all the wood stuff, and that's full of junk. Some painting kits, and that's about it. So I hope you like it. It's not much, but it's home, and I get a lot of work done here. I get a lot of enjoyment being down in here, and one day I hope my kids will enjoy coming down here and doing projects with me. There you go. That is DM Jim's workshop. I hope you liked the little tour. To me, it's just where I come to get things done, not just for my gaming hobby, but for other things I need to do around the house. After I filmed the tour, I realized that I had left something out. There were 3 bags. I'll show you. Let me just show you real quick. See those 3 bags on the floor over there to the left of that white stepper chair? Let me explain those bags to you. So I DM on Wednesday night a group of 6 to 8 players, and I want to tell you a little bit about how I prepare for a game. Now I'm not heavy on terrain, but I use a lot of terrain, and I do like miniatures, and I wasn't always like that. A lot of times I used to do theater of the mind DMing back in the early days when we didn't have terrain, and I didn't have the skill to do some of the stuff I have. But nowadays I do and try to involve terrain on my table as much as possible. So one of the things I want to show you is this. This is my game journal, okay? Hardback, and try to buy something that's going to last a while. So when I'm preparing for an adventure, and I usually do this weeks in advance. So like next Wednesday, I will have prepared that stuff, hopefully, 1 to 2 weeks prior. I try not to do last minute stuff. But when I am ready to plan a night's adventure, I usually get the book. And I run a lot of adventures from the Wizards of the Coast books. Right now we're doing Tomb of Annihilation, okay? Takes place on the island of Cholt. And, my players are enjoying it, or at least I hope they're enjoying it. So when I'm doing something, what I do is I open that book and I find where I believe my players are going to be going for that night. Now, sometimes there's, choices, so I have to be prepared for that. So what I do is I go through the book and I look at the descriptions, and, there'll be the description that the DM reads to the players. And then below it, there'll be information like, if there's any traps or monsters or treasure and things like that. And what I'll do is I'll make an itemized bullet list right here, as you can see. And yeah, you can see it's pretty lengthy, right? I'll list not only what's there, like here, chariot, statue with a shield, 6 pots, skeletons, a crypt, pedestal, and bottle. These are just examples of items that I know I'm going to need that night. Then I list for the actual terrain, like the dungeon tiles or whatever. If it's an outdoor adventure, I try to somewhat describe what I need. But like this is an indoor one right here. So I write down I need a 3x3, a 7x10, a 9x12, another 7x10, a 5x5. These are the dimensions, in inches, of the pieces I need. And behind me on this shelf right here, you can see stacks. I have pre-painted. Hold on. I have pre-painted pieces of various shapes and sizes. Here's a circle, big square, little one, more little. Okay, I have a nice collection of these that I've kept over time. And if I find I don't have something, if I have time, I'll make it. I've got plenty of foam, as you saw in the video. I cut it out, mark it, paint it, sponge paint it, and I make what I need. Sometimes I use this 1/4 inch. Sometimes, and some of you are going to freak out when I do this, if I need like a 2x5. Hey, 2x5. And then what I'll do is I'll just paint the edge so they don't see pink. And there you go. I have a 2x5 piece. Over time, I've got a mix of sizes and things like that. So that's usually not a big problem. It's when I need something custom. Sometimes the rooms have a weird shape, or they have some sort of centerpiece or a cutout or whatever. And when that happens, I just make that. I do that on my own. So, and then what I do is on the floor over here, I actually lay out the night's adventure. The rooms, the terrain, the things as I'm making them or as I'm pulling them off my supply shelf. If it says it needs a chariot, for example. I had a chariot from a long time ago. It wasn't in the style that this called for, but I didn't care. It was a chariot. I put it in the box. I put it in one of those bags. That's where I'm getting those 3 bags over there that you saw. Each one of those contains a different night's terrain and miniatures and stuff like that. So one of them's old, so I've got 2 weeks planned out already, or at least most of it. I go down the list and I just put a check beside what I have. And I try to, I don't know if you can see this, I group them by area number. So you can see right here what's at 22. So these are the things that on the map that would go for area 22. And this just helps keep me organized. If I need a mini that I don't have, I'll create a paper miniature of it. And I'll write that on here, what I need. I also write down what creature stat sheets I need. And here's the reason why. I don't use a DM shield anymore. I don't like having something between me and my players. DM Scotty put a video, and I'll put a link up. DM Scotty put a video up not too long ago about how DMs might consider getting rid of the shield. And so, and he made some very good arguments. So I tried it, and guess what? I loved it. I like not having this barrier there. I always felt like I was kind of, hemmed in and didn't have room to spread out. I like to roll in the open. If I tell a player on a 15 or higher, you're dead, and I roll a d20 and it's 17, you're dead. I don't think my players like that, but I like rolling in the open. My players know that I'm not fudging the dice. They know I'm not cheating them. And the flip side is I expect it from them. If they roll something and they roll a 1 or a bad number, I hold it. The point I'm getting to is without the DM shield, it's very hard to, I don't want to be thumbing through books, because to me that's just the same thing. Holding a book up and looking at it and reading stuff is sort of like a shield. So what I do, and you may not be able to see this, is I take a photo of the Monster Manual stat box and I just tape it into the book. I've got all kinds of stat boxes here. A while back I put my players up against that beholder you saw earlier. 2 players died. That was a fun adventure that night. Oh, it wasn't just the beholder. The beholder had a troll, was it? Yeah, a troll and an Umber Hulk as 2 of its minions. They went in the beholder lair and they got torn up. So you can see that I use this to keep track of their hit points as they're taking damage. The idea is that with this small book, I can keep the notes of my adventure. Now, I do keep the Tomb of Annihilation book close by, just in case something odd happens. But my goal is to try to transfer everything into this book that I would need for the night. I read the adventure usually the night before, just so it's familiar or in my mind, because I want the adventure to go smooth. I want it to go fast, and it doesn't always go fast, but I want the players to be able to see everything on the table and everything's out in the open, and I don't want them to get hints. So I keep this, closed, and when I need it, I open it. But it's a great way to keep organized. It works for me. I'm not saying it'll work for you, but it's so far I'm enjoying it. And like I said, I enjoy not using a DM shield. So that's what those bags were, in case you saw those in the tour and wondered what was in those. That's how I transport my terrain and my miniatures and my other little odds and ends to game night, and how I keep them separate and organized. That's it. This one went a little longer than I thought, but I hope you enjoyed it. The reason I don't have a video for you this week of a project is I'm about 3/4 done with it. Because of Easter, I was away for the weekend. I didn't get it finished. So I'm currently working on finishing that up for the next video, hopefully, or the one after that. So anyway, if you've got any questions about what you saw in my workshop, feel free. There's a lot of weirdness in here that I may have not covered. You may have seen a tool or some sort of item that I just glossed over or didn't mention. If you need to know, post a question and I'll see what I can do for helping you. So anyway, until the next episode, this is DM Jim. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.